Welcome to this week's On the Fly podcast. I'm your host, Gene DeFilippo, and our guest today is Brian White, the very successful athletic administrator and director of athletics at Florida Atlantic University. How you doing today, Brian?
Doing great, Gene. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I tell you, I would be remiss if I didn't go back and just say how much I love and respect your family. We have been friends for over 30 years with your mom and dad. And of course, you and Michael, and Danny, Mariah, you're all really, really young. And it's been fun to watch you grow and mature as a family. It's been great.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Hey, let's start by you telling everybody what it was like to grow up in a family where your dad was the director of athletics, and now you have yourself at FAU, your brother's the director of athletics at Tennessee, and your other brother, Michael, is the head basketball coach at the University of Georgia. So take it over and tell us what it was like growing up in an athletic family.
I think for us, obviously, we didn't know where we'd be at this point in our lives. But growing up, my parents were both still are extremely hard workers and put a high value on hard work. Sometimes we felt like maybe my dad just made up stuff to do just to spite us and make sure we had that hard work ethic instilled. It wouldn't be unlike him in the middle of a summer Saturday where you're hoping to spend some time relaxing to give you a wake up call at 6 a.m. and you look out the window and there's a new sod truck out there and we're resodding the lawn all day. He'd love to do that one. He'd pull that one a few times a year. Reorganize the garage, whatever it was. He just always instilled the value of a hard work ethic and is a firm believer in that. Obviously honesty, integrity, a whole lot of things, but hard work is something that was very valuable to both my parents, and that was the environment we grew up in. Highly competitive as well in what we do, whether it's playing basketball in the backyard or any sport or academics or whatever we were doing. It was always a highly competitive. We always, my siblings, I'm one of five, and we always wanted to beat each other, no matter what the game or the task. My mother may be the most competitive person I've ever encountered. So that was kind of our environment growing up. Obviously the way we grew up, we had student athletes and coaches and donors over at our house quite frequently, and we would also spend most of our nights and weekends in addition to our own sports growing up, but at athletic events, at games, practices, etc. So we grew up with a strong appreciation for college sports, just being around it. I don't know that we ever, especially growing up at a young age, envisioned that we would all still be in college athletics at this age. And I think at some point we decided to make that career path, each of us in our own different way, as we went through college and made those life decisions. But as kids, we just had a really strong love and appreciation for college sports. And then finally, as you can imagine, you doing the job yourself, Gene, an athletic director and their spouse tends to be out of the house a lot. So donor dinners, events, games, etc., where the kids aren't there. So it was a little bit like the book Lord of the Flies, growing up in a lawless environment with three older siblings. My youngest sibling is quite a bit younger, so we always joke that she grew up in a much more pampered environment than we grew up in. But it was a little bit lawless and a lot of fun in that way. And my oldest sister, Maureen, was kind of a full-time babysitter at age 9 and really spent much of our childhood at home with the different events my parents had to go to. And I think that's probably the reason my oldest sister, Maureen, is the only one that doesn't work in sports.
I remember her. She was a very good swimmer at Duke, was she not?
My little sister, my younger sister, Mariah, was
Mariah.
A good swimmer.
That's right. Mariah was.
Yes.
That's
Maureen
right.
swam. My oldest sister, Maureen, did swim growing up and in high school. And then she's now an educator. She's in education as a high school English teacher out in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, wow. Great. Hey, let's talk about Florida Atlantic. A lot of people don't realize what you have there in Boca Raton and what Howard Schnellenberger started and what you have worked for the last 10, 12 years to move this university along. You don't go from one conference to the AAC and by the snap of your fingers. It's a work over a long time. Tell us about Howard and about some of the things that he did and some of the things that you picked up on and have carried on.
Absolutely. Howard has done as much for this place as really anybody's done for any place. I mean, it's truly incredible what he did, and his spirit, I think, still embodies Florida Atlantic. His quotes we hear all the time. To believe is to be strong, and we're going to win a national championship. The only variable is time. I mean, just being around Howard, the confidence he instilled each and every day. And I think what he did to build this place is truly incredible. Started our football program. I mean, there's very few times where you could say that this coach, actually started a program, but our program's only, just north of 20 years old. So we're really young. That was probably the biggest thing that, surprised me coming here is, just how different Florida Atlantic is and how young we are as a program. But I think of that as a huge positive, tremendous upside. We talk about ourselves as the up and coming stock. We're not the veteran, mature stock, your Coca-Cola, et cetera. We're the up and coming stock that maybe many haven't heard of yet or many haven't seen coming. But I think our potential, our upside is fantastic. I think there's we're in a region, we're 3 miles from the county line. We're in Palm Beach County, but 3 miles from Broward County, and then obviously south of that is Dade County. And in that tri-county area, I think that produces 70% of the Division I athletes in the state of Florida. So we're in a talent-rich state, but we're in the hot spot of talent within a talent-rich state. And I think if this university had been participating in college football and college sports for the last 100 years, that it would be a household name and one of the premier institutions in the country. I really do believe that athletically. And I think that's what we can be in time. And it's just, we're working against the fact that we don't have a lot of history, and we're building something special. The stadium that Howard was a big part of getting done and getting accomplished is a beautiful stadium, and it's built just about 30,000 seats, but it's beautiful. It's as we like to tout, probably way too much. It's 1.8 miles to the beach. You do have an ocean view, only stadium in the country with an ocean view, and it also has it was built to expand. So we know that in time we can expand it from 30,000 to 45,000. And it's just really well done. We have on-field cabanas that are beautiful. We have our suites that are beautiful. We have a big Hyundai deck that's a kind of a big outdoor area in the middle of the stadium, kind of a premium area that's very, very well done. So we have a beautiful stadium. We have the facility I'm in is actually a $72 million academic and athletic excellence building. We had a lot of donors that stepped up. We opened it in 2020. We're very proud of this. We think it's as competitive with any facility, with most facilities in the Power Five. It's the largest weight room in the state of Florida. Really special building. And then just recently secured another $7.5 million gift, and then a $5 million gift within the last couple months to help with all of our other Olympic sport areas. Our old football facility is now going to become an Olympic sport hub, and we think we can totally redo that facility, make it brand new, state of the art, and to redo our basketball arena with the basketball success we've had here. We have a smaller arena, but we think kind of keeping a boutique small arena, but making it really, really nice. I think we've had 5 or 6 straight sellout crowds. We think we can, in this community, have a consistent sellout, make it a hot ticket, and really blow the place up, but make it really, really nice in the process. So this place has tremendous potential, and I'm just extremely fortunate and grateful to be here at the right place in the right time.
And you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned all the things that it takes and it took and takes for you to go to the next level. Talk about the AAC. What a coup that was for FAU. And tell us about you're moving on from Conference USA to the AAC and what it means to you.
Yes, thank you. No, it's our partnership with Conference USA has been phenomenal, and we're very grateful for our time in Conference USA. But this opportunity within the American is just that next level, and to me, it embodies our spirit, our ambition, which was Howard's spirit and his ambition. For him to, to believe is to be strong. You go back to that. We're going to win a national championship. That the bullish, um. I think the courage to say that at a place like Florida Atlantic is rare, and sometimes people think you're crazy when you say that. But our fans don't, and our community doesn't. And the wealth in this community and the power of this community, we really do believe in. And I would give credit to Mike Oresco and the American for believing in that vision. They see that vision, they recognize who we are, that it's not necessarily about where we are today, but it's where we're going to be. And that's what I think the American believes in. That's what we believe in. So for us, what's most important is the exposure. That's where we are. I'm a firm believer that Division I athletic departments exist to serve as a front porch for institutions. So yes, we're enhanced TV revenue and some of those other positives, enhanced competitiveness, an enhanced competitive schedule, et cetera. Those are positives, but the exposure is really the big piece. And we've been for some time having games streamed on Facebook and some other and Stadium Network and some other great partners, but it's not been where we want to be, and that's on ESPN and on some of the main linear stations. So we think the exposure of the television package in the American, which is a very well done package, is going to be a huge potential upside for us. We run the numbers. We use a company called Meltwater to evaluate the equivalent ad exposure that our athletics program provides for the university. And in the month of December alone, we were north of 170 million. That's just the most recent number and that's for athletics and ad exposure provided for the university. So that we look at as our output above all. Our number in January, given the recent basketball run, is we know it's going to be a lot higher. It's just not out yet, but we measure that number monthly, and that's our goal is to maximize that output for our university.
It's great. I was at the University of Kentucky as an associate athletic director when Howard came to be the head football coach at Louisville. And at that time, the Louisville program was really, really below average. And in he comes, and he's got that pipe, and he says, "We're on a course to win the national championship. The only variable is time." And I said, "Holy cow, what a statement that is." Well, a couple of years later, he goes 10-1 and goes to the Fiesta Bowl and came darn close to having a chance to win a national championship. So he was quite a guy, Howard.
Really special, and absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. Not to campaign and not to use this as a shameless plug, but I mean that's just another example. What he did for University of Miami football program, what he did for FAU, what he did for Louisville. He took over programs that were not in a great place, and I absolutely believe he's a college football Hall of Famer, and I think he was special for the game and for the people. We had an event after his passing here with a lot of the people that have played for him and the people that have been around him and worked with him over the years, and the respect that people had for him was unlike any other I've ever been around. Pretty incredible story.
For sure. Hey, let's talk about your multimedia rights. You happen to leave your current partner and you signed a long-term deal with Playfly. Talk about why Playfly. What were the advantages? How are you going to work with Playfly in order to build revenue and additional exposure for FAU?
We're extremely excited about our partnership with Playfly. And I think, again, similar to our relationship with the American, to me, we're impressed that Playfly sees the future of FAU. And I think that's great vision by Playfly. And it's Obviously a highly impressive company, and a great partner. But that's what we were most encouraged about. We were very intentional about our process, which is how we do everything. The same way we conduct a coaching search, the same way we do everything. We try to be very intentional about how we make decisions and make sure this is bigger than a personal relationship here or there. This is about Florida Atlantic University, and with all we've invested in our football program and in our athletic department over the last 20, 40 years, et cetera. And what is the next best partnership for us? A multimedia rights partnership is huge. So that was not a small decision and not one we took lightly. So we conducted interviews and met with several different multimedia rights holders. We actually evaluated doing it in-house and looked at at every possible scenario. But we were just so impressed with Playfly that it seemed like it was the obvious choice in the end. Impressed most with the professionalism, but also I think the bullish belief, ambition that we talked about with Howard is we identify with that at FAU. Our place is just we're extremely confident in what we can do, what not only how far we've come in a short period of time, but what we will do. And then the next thing, the creativity, the can-do attitude, the ingenuity. A meeting with Playfly was like a breath of fresh air. I mean, it was. They just, I think we were just blown away by here's all the things we're just going to go do, and here's how we're going to do it, and why we're going to do it. And it was much more about finding solutions versus worrying about potential problems. It was just a very positive process, and we were really impressed, and we couldn't be more excited to partner with Playfly.
Well, our founder and CEO, Mike Schreiber, when you meet with Mike for a half hour, 45 minutes, you need to go take a nap because he is full of enthusiasm and all kinds of ideas. And he's just done a wonderful job leading this Playfly organization. He really has. Brian, I'm so impressed with your basketball program this year, the hiring of your football coach, Tom Herman, the academic success that you and your student athletes have at Florida Atlantic. Talk to us about it because you got a lot of great things going.
Absolutely. We talk about winning in paradise, and that's something that's very important for us. We see that as our consistent brand marketing logo, et cetera. But for us, we mean it in a lot more ways than just competitive success. And we're very proud of our, first and foremost, our student athletes and what they do in the classroom. We have 450 student athletes that average a GPA of over 3.0 for 14 straight semesters. They complete about 5,000 hours, 3 to 5,000 hours in a given year in community service. In our community, we're very proud to call paradise. The location and community for us is a huge part of who we are. And we've done a great job, I think, of being more ingrained in this community. That's because we're a younger institution. We have to be very intentional. We don't have generations of alums where everybody in this area is automatically an alum of FAU. We're a little bit of a younger institution, so we have to be very intentional about recruiting fans and donors from that may be alums of other institutions around the country, and getting them on board. So we've actually closed 26 6 or 7 figure gifts in the last 4 years, and been able to raise a lot of money that all goes to support our student athletes and what they're passionate about and their academics and athletic pursuits. And you mentioned our football recent football coaching hire, Tom Herman. We're thrilled to get Tom here. He's won 71% of his games. I think that puts him up as a top 20 coach in the country in terms of active winning percentage. He's never had a losing season, undefeated in bowl games. I mean, he's a really good football coach, and he's hit the ground. People say hit the ground running. He's hit the ground sprinting. So our players have loved working with him, and I think he's going to be great for FAU, and we're just thrilled to have him here. Our basketball program's really a special story. We've obviously we have the best record in all of college basketball right now, and being nationally ranked at Florida Atlantic is never something I thought we could accomplish But we've had it goes back to the basic principles, hard work, follow through, consistency, operating with a high level of integrity and respect, and building a custom plan for each place. I think the plan that's worked for us here at Florida Atlantic doesn't work for a lot of places, and I think that each athletic department, each community offers different positives and negatives. And we've had a pretty unique plan, and really proud of the success we've been able to have. On top of that, we had beach volleyball finish ninth in the country last year. We're nationally ranked number 12 going into next year. We've had conference championships in baseball and in women's soccer, and a softball program that has had a lot of historical success, and is really, I think, poised to have another really good year. So we're proud of all of our sport programs, and we're proud of the university we represent. Our university has improved academically, and by some metrics as fast as any university in the country has over the last 8-10 years. So we're very proud of Florida Atlantic university wide.
As well, you should be. That is really a terrific success story. Hey, tell us a little bit more about your basketball program, about your coach, where you get your players from. How did this, great group come together? I bet there's a good story to it.
Coach Dusty May, we brought in, he was an assistant coach at Florida, and we hired him just about 5 years ago. It was actually my second week on the job. So it's been a lot of fun to see the growth in the program under Coach May and his leadership. We've only had 5 winning seasons in the history of FAU basketball prior to Coach May, and we're in the midst of our 5th straight winning season. So for us, the level of success he's had here is really unprecedented. He's already the winningest coach in the history of the program. At 24-2, we have the very best record in all of college basketball. I think what he's done is build a great culture. And I know that's a word that's way overused, but I see it in that program. I think small things to me matter, like the players on the bench cheering for the players on the court. Even when they get pulled out, the players on the court do something well, and the players on the bench are cheering for them. They're pretty unselfish. I think our players on the basketball side, and really in all sports, but since you mentioned basketball, I do think they genuinely have great relationships and get along, and I think that's really important. Obviously recruiting talented players from around the country is important, but building a great culture where they're happy and I think are bought in and believe in each other and want each other to be successful is just as important. Coach Mays, when you mentioned recruiting, where does he recruit from? He's recruited some local Florida, but we have student athletes on our team from all over the Midwest and Indiana and Mississippi and Russia, and so we have we're a good mix of just really competitive kids that get along well and play for each other and play the right way, really unselfishly.
Well, that's great. I tell you what, it's been a nice winter here this year in the Northeast, but if you bring some of those great basketball players from the Northeast down to Florida at this time of the year, you're going to have a very good success rate. It's cold up here. It's cold up here in Boston.
No doubt about that. Throughout the winter, as I walk through campus, I always challenge myself, how the heck did I not go to school here? And I got students in shorts and flip-flops, and it's a heck of a place to go to school.
Isn't it? Yeah, it sure is. All right, last question. Being an athletic director is not a job. It's a way of life. And your family has to buy in, and everybody's got to buy in. How do you take some time for you and your family? What do you do for downtime? What do you do to get away from it a little bit?
This time of year, we live really close to campus, and I'm a big believer in because it's how I grew up, merging family and work as much as you can. Actually, my wife and a couple of her friends and my daughters and a couple of their friends were just in our football building and in around here in our athletic building selling Girl Scout cookies. And so I just saw them
Oh, right.
ago. So I really do try to we try to combine a family atmosphere within the athletic department. So others are also comfortable bringing their families around, et cetera. For us this time of year, we have so many games on the weekends. So you're really filled with, as we got baseball starting, softball's in play, men's and women's basketball, et cetera, tennis and some others. We try to bring our kids, and this weekend our kids and our friends' families and our kids' friends that we all went to a bunch of FAU games, and and it's combining youth sports in the morning with the FAU games in the afternoon, and that becomes your life. We have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So we're kind of consumed with that, with FAU events and youth sports right now. As it gets later in the year, we will try to have devoted family time if there's a Sunday and there's not an athletic event. We try to be intentional about just doing stuff, as silly as that sounds, but we'll go to the zoo. We'll make sure we go to the beach or do something, even if just a couple hours, to, just try to be as intentional as I can about spending good time with the family when we can. But I think, like you mentioned, it's a lifestyle, and the more you can merge the two, the better. And I know our kids are the biggest FAU fans there are. Most games I have to lie to them if we lose and just tell them we won, because they'll believe it, and it's easier that way than disappointing them. But they love the Owls, and they go to my 7-year-old actually goes to school right here on campus, so they are also the Owls. So it's a close tie-in, and it's a great way for them to grow up, I think.
We're out of time on this week's podcast. I'm your host, Gene DeFilippo. I want to thank our guest, Brian White, for his expert comments and for spending time with us. Thanks for your time this time, and we'll see you next time.